So, hello students. So, I am very glad today. I am very happy because of two reasons. Number one reason is a inspirational person. See, becoming inspiration is a very tougher task in the human being's life. Why? Because all are human beings. One human being is influencing another human being, which is a rare feat, which is a great achievement. So today we are here to celebrate the inspiration. So it's not about the result, it's a bigger thing. Why? Because it's all about how one particular a woman from very menial background, from economically downtrodden, that particular woman who had achieved the rare feat by which she is inspiring the community, by which she is inspiring the nation. So the story is compulsory, worth listening. Why? Why? Because huge competition. I know students who are from IIM, who are from IITs, who are from AIMS, who went to 3 times interview, who went to 4 times interview. They could not crack this examination, but in the very second attempt, at the young age of 23 and 24, getting all India 11th rank, and in Telugu states rank 1, is worth listening, is worth mentioning about that particular person. And I feel very pride, I feel very privileged by taking her name and calling her on the dais. And her name is Sai Shivani of Warangal district, and we want her to inspire the student community, mainly the aspiring students who want to crack this examination in any cost, who are putting their soul, their money, their time, mainly your time. So you will be 100% getting, you will be 100% acquiring the best inputs, the best feedback, the best suggestions, the best advice from Sai Shivani. So this particular session is not going to be whereby I am or the dignitaries on the dais will ask her questions. You people, it is open to you. So first is Sai Shivani will be explaining her about her journey, about her way of existence, the role of her family, the role of her education in achieving this All India rank 11, as well as your questions she will be addressing. So I welcome with a huge round of applause Sai Shivani. Congratulations once again. So we will start with your journey, Sai Shivani. How your journey started? What is your motivation? How you prepared? What are your books? What is that strength which made you to crack this examination? And few students will be asking their questions. So it will be have one-on-one sessions. And one more thing, this is the first session whereby Sai Shivani is interacting with the students for the first time. So this is a very good opportunity to all. Please interact with Sai Shivani madam and get all the inputs.
So my name is Sai Shivani. I come from Warangal district. So I'm born and brought up in Warangal, and a brief duration I stayed in Khammam also. So I studied 10th from Nirmal Hriday High School, that is in Khammam. So post then I joined the 6-year integrated course in IIIT, Andhra Pradesh. So after then graduating in 2022, I started preparing for this exam. So as I said before also, I completed my optional way back in 2021. So that was during the pandemic time. So I took a lot of time to cover anthropology. My favorite discipline is anthropology itself, because during the pandemic time when I was not having much to do, so simply bored off and scrolling through the phone, it didn't make me feel good. So I just started off with something new in life. So I referred to Anudeep Durishetty sir's blog. So he detailedly covered the anthropology strategy and the book list and everything. So I just gave it a try. I didn't know that I was going to finish optional. I just gave it a try. So that risk taking is also important in this exam. So the reason why I'm sharing this is that sometimes we think that we need to put all the efforts, be super serious to carry on, but just that little spark, little curiosity is also important for this exam. So I started it off like that, chapter by chapter. It felt very interesting. So I didn't take any formal coaching for GS or anthropology. I just finished it off, took some little time. Almost I covered anthropology for about an year. So throughout the pandemic, while I was staying at home idly, so I completed the optional back then. So I gave it one reading and made a rough note. So after 2022, when I have decided to give this exam, so I was super serious about this, because you see the competition is huge and nobody knows till your name is in the list. Even I didn't expect, though I was expecting under 50, but this exam is very uncertain. Even the top ranks will not be expecting at least their name in the list. This happens many of times. So I was super serious. If I have to give this exam, I have to give my 100%. If not, I'm not for this exam. So I'll just explore any other thing in life. So this seriousness is very important, because competition is huge. Stakes are so high. We all start for this exam in the early 20s, which is the ideal age for exploration, building up a robust career. But we give up all of that just for this single exam. So the stakes are really high. Either you be serious and pursue this exam, give serious attempts, or just take another stream in life. It's not bad. Like even after giving a lot of time to this exam, you feel drained out and you really think that there is something good in life, you can just go for it. It is not that you have to stay for one single exam all through your 20s, and when you look back, you see only the set of failures. So don't do that mistake. Just be serious. How many number of attempts that you are going to give, that is your personal choice completely. You should decide what are your stakes in life, what is your plan B, and how will your life look balanced if you take this particular step. So after thinking of all of these things, you should start preparing. And initially when I started preparing for this exam in 2022, as everybody has faced, like I also faced similar problems, like what are the standard resources, like few toppers refer some books, few toppers refer some other books, and we always chase the books. We always give a lot of time to find that perfect book for a particular resource. So I observed that we waste a lot of time like that. Just refer 2-3 strategy videos of toppers, and whatever are the standard book list, stick to them. There is nothing so tremendous and so exquisite in other books. It is all same in many of the books. Understand one thing, that the books, the teachers, the courses, these are all just a support. These are not the to-do list, or these are not a go-to for this cracking this exam. Everything is just a supporting material. Take it as that only. So when you start reading one book, so for example, if you take polity, we have 2 important NCERT books. One is the Indian Constitution at Work. So the second one is the political theory. So these are the 2 NCERTs I referred thoroughly for polity preparation. So once I have covered these books, then I got a fair idea that how this subject polity is going to be. And after that, I started reading Lakshmikant. But many of us aspirants, we commit mistake that we open Lakshmikant chapter number 1, historical background. So when you see there are all colonial era laws and the different features in each of these laws, how do you expect yourself coming from a different background to understand the laws in the first place? So that is not the right approach. First, get your basics done. Read NCERTs, and also when you read the modern history, you will know why these laws are there. These colonial era laws before 1857, after 1857, what is the difference in each of the charter acts. So reading the book is an art in itself. You should not start with the chapter 1 always. For example, in the polity, at least don't start with historical background, because it's all dry facts. You do not understand the context even. So that is how you should first get your basics right. And I do not ideally prefer reading 6 to 12 NCERT books. So that is my personal opinion, because I didn't refer them. I just referred 1 or 2 NCERT books, which are very, very important for few of the subjects, not all of the subjects. Because you see NCERTs a lot, and we now got new NCERTs also. So it becomes quite exhaustive to cover NCERTs itself. Remember one thing, whatever you cover for this exam, there should be a return on investment of time. time and energy are needed, right, to cover a particular subject or a book. When there is no much written for you in the exam, what is the need of covering that book in the first place? So be very specific. It's not important that somebody is reading and I should also try the same. It's not like that. So firstly, I'll tell my book list. So after that, we will proceed with the mindset of the preparation. Then I'll go ahead with prelims, mains and interview briefly. And then you can ask any relevant doubts and I'll be answering the same. So firstly, for book list, for prelims especially, I followed these two NCERTs for polity, Indian Constitution at Work and political theory, and then Lakshmikant. So these are enough for polity. Additionally, covering the newspaper regularly helped me a lot in polity questions. Okay, so that is how polity went. Then for geography, I read class 11, class 12 NCERT books, and GC Leong, specifically the climate types, the part B of the book that I covered. So also when you cover this climate patterns, once you were done with all of those, just make a tabular form and refer to that one single time. You see, when we revise the textbook, so that kills a lot of time. Whenever you read a bulky thing, make short notes, make tabular forms so that your revision becomes easy. Same goes with constitutional bodies, non-constitutional bodies in polity. So when you read all those chapters, just 1 or 2 pages in Lakshmikant, it is covered. So after you read all of these, while revising, make a tabular form. So I used to have these wedding cards or some hospital files, which are very long in nature. You can refer any files also. So I divided that particular file into different columns and rows, and I covered all constitutional bodies, non-constitutional bodies list. So when I have to revise, I just used to refer to that file. So when it is in tabular form, it becomes very easy for us to revise. So that is how smartly you should convert your bulky things into something very readable. And I do not mean to make Lakshmikant a short notes, okay? Don't make that mistake. Only chapters which are bulky in nature, which require less time for revision, you need to make those into short notes. Remaining, you can cover it in the standard book itself. So after geography, when it comes to economy, I just enrolled for a course for economy. So it was by Neo IAS. It is an online mode. It is Kerala based. So I took a course for this one subject itself, the economy. So I took it on online recorded mode. So I followed their class notes. And additionally, I used to refer one book called Eco 550. So in this book, you have 550 MCQs covering various chapters of economy. So when you are done with particular chapter, you can just solve the questions. And believe me, I solved this book more than 4 times during prelims. So when you start practicing PYQs and MCQs, your brain naturally gets into that prelims mode. That seriousness gradually sets in. So do try, give it try to this book. I used it in online. So Eco 550, the book name was. You can cover a lot of economy, sub-economy topics and concepts through these questions. And for history, I initially followed the old NCERTs. And gradually, there was an opinion and there was a fact in the market that new NCERTs are becoming the trend in the history questions. So many of the questions are being asked from new NCERTs and Tamil Nadu state history books. I did one thing for that. After covering my basics from old NCERTs, I just referred this new NCERTs once, especially class 11 and 12, I guess, for ancient, medieval and modern. After referring these textbooks once, and I just made a short notes, whatever are the important points. So I carefully picked them from the do you know boxes given in these chapters and MCQs given at the end of each chapter. So and also the maps. If there is any map which is covering the key locations of ancient port cities. Port cities is actually favorite theme of UPSC. So when there are such maps, especially regarding port cities, inscriptions, sites. So these maps I used to make on my own in my notes, and I used to refer to them a lot of times. So this will gradually help you in solving those difficult questions in history. And apart from this, I don't recommend to go beyond anything, because history is a subject wherein the return on investment is very less. No matter how much you cover, you will always see some bouncer question in history. It is safe to leave, so than to commit a mistake in prelims. So just cover whatever is important and just go the extra mile in new NCERTs. Once you are done with them and once you make a short note, just leave it. Revise only that particular notes and don't go beyond resources in history. It's not that rewarding in prelims especially. And environment, I followed the PMF IAS book. So once I have read that, I just made short notes for bulky chapters. And for maps especially, I prepared a lot. So the first mistake I committed in my earlier attempt was I was not well prepared with the maps, be it the geography maps or in the environment, the protected areas and all. So I was not very well prepared in the previous attempt. So for this attempt, I made it a point that the map should be before my eyes. When I close my eyes, I should visualize whatever is there on the map. So that kind of spontaneity will help you in prelims in map-based questions. So many people, they commit silly mistakes in map-based questions. You should not commit the same. So when you are practicing a lot, you will naturally know what is the answer for such map questions. Practice the maps. You should practice the rivers, mountains, whatever is covered in geography and the protected areas. And for that, you can make some maps and paste it to the wall. Just visualize it. Just refer it every day. While you are not feeling to study much, just refer to the maps. That will be productive and that actually helps you solve some extra questions in prelims. And for science and tech, I covered the current affairs. So I covered monthly magazines and the PT 365. So whatever is in there, I followed that for science and tech. If time permits, you can just go to ISRO website or NASA website. You can see especially the space related missions, what are upcoming events and what is so path breaking in the current mission. You can just go through the website and make a short note for these details. And yes, apart from these current affairs, I followed a very focused approach because what happened was in my first attempt, I placed excessive reliance on current affairs. I was reading monthly current affairs, PT 365 a lot of times, but I did not focus much on the static. So that was the point that actually gave me a failure in prelims first attempt. So in the second attempt, I was so clear that whatever are the current affairs beyond these, I will not read. So once you place your resources fixed for current affairs, don't go beyond that. Just revise whatever you have read and place more emphasis on the static subjects. So I call 4 subjects as the pillars for prelims. The first one is polity, second is economy, third is geography plus environment, fourth is history. So whenever you are preparing for prelims, these 4 subjects are the building blocks of your preparation. Go for these first and solve the remaining later, like practice or revise them later. And CSAT, as you know, like it is getting tricky year on year. I do not know how 25 CSAT went, but fairly enough 23 and 24 CSAT was tough, on a tougher side. So no matter which background you are coming from, place due respect for this subject because there is nothing so worse than missing the prelims by CSAT. So you feel that regret a year long. Place emphasis on CSAT. For that, just go through PYQs. Go through PYQs and start solving questions chapter wise. Like take the chapter number system, then probability, permutation, combination, percentages. And in this way, you can solve math step by step. After going through PYQs, you can give any test or you can solve any other aptitude books so that you are well accommodated with this math part of CSAT. And for reading comprehension, I just didn't give any test. I followed PYQs completely because you see in reading comprehension, the problem is that no institute is close enough to UPSC style of passages. So that is the only problem. So you can actually go through these reading comprehensions like from 2013 to 24 or 25, practice them time and again. Understand different traps, like there are some extreme words given in the question and there are some other directive words like inference, what is the corollary. So these are some different directives given in the question. You have to focus on this. And this is for the subject-wise preparation, and I'll talk about the PYQ analysis because I think there is some gap in this. Many toppers tell you that PYQs are very important and all of that, but we tend to do it in a wrong way. I did that in my first attempt. We actually solved PYQs. We just referred the answer and then we say that, okay, this is done. But that is not the ideal thing. You should go through PYQs first. Do not solve them at all. Take one subject, go through the previous year questions, and just identify the themes. Which are the themes? The questions are being repetitive in nature year on year. Say, for example, if you take ancient history, you see port cities are that important theme. Port cities, travelers notes. So what each traveler was writing about some empire. These kind of questions, and questions related to Buddhism, Jainism, coinage. These are some themes in different subjects that you should identify once you are referring to PYQs. You should note them down, which are the themes in each subject. So after you are done with that themes, then go on solving those questions. While solving the questions, also refer to the 4 options. Why is this particular option given for this question? What is so important about it? Just give it a Google search. You will know there is a connection. So that might be in news, that might be holding some key relevance. You will identify that for each of those options. You will get some notes online on Google. Just refer it and you will know just 2-3 lines about that particular option. In this way, you will analyze that there are different hints given in the question paper itself. So you should know that aptitude for solving the prelims PYQs, and you'll also know what kind of questions are being more challenging and tricky. For example, I remember one question in geography that was related to some geomorphological phenomena, and the first statement you will see that there are a lot of details given. So in Western Pacific Ocean, at this latitude, this particular position. So you see that when there are many details in a statement, there is more chance to commit a mistake there. So if UPSC wants to give a wrong statement, when that is more specific, you can expect if one of the detail is wrong, the statement itself is wrong. So that is the concept here. And in the second statement, you see it is very generalistic in nature. There are no specific details. So it tends to be correct anyway. In this way, when you start analyzing PYQs in the right manner, you will find a lot of traps like this. So you have to understand the traps first so that you will not fall into those traps in the exam. Because what happens is under that 2-hour time pressure, we tend to make mistakes even when we know the right answer. So that is the situation out there in the exam. Hence, we need to be very well prepared during the analysis stage itself. Analyze the mistakes and note them down. These are the traps in geography type questions. In history, these are the common traps. So for each of the subject, maintain a list, do that. This is initially time taking, but it is truly rewarding when you are writing prelims. So maybe if you can go that extra mile, you can safely clear prelims. Like the past year, I did not clear the cutoff. Almost I fell short of 5 to 6 marks in both the papers. And in this year, after all this analysis and practice, I got 30 plus marks above the general cutoff in both papers. So that is what analysis and going the extra mile will give you. So when you are clearing prelims with a lot of margin, you will have that confidence to face mains. So that is my analysis out there in prelims. So till now we have discussed prelims. Like if you have any prelims related doubts, I'll answer them. How many of you have written the prelims this year?
Yeah. This was going to my 5th attempt.
Okay.
So prelims, then qualifying exam. So CSAT is my problem.
Yes, yes.
Next my 5th attempt. So,
Okay. So this attempt also you are not very clear.
yes, sir.
Okay. So one thing is that I believe prelims is that important step. Because in mains, you have the luxury of writing your opinions. It is not just right or wrong. Whatever you write, you will get some kind of marks. But in prelims, it's not the case. Either it is right or it's wrong. You are in the list or out of the list. So for prelims, I think you are doing somewhere the mistake of identifying topics in different subjects. So when I was preparing for this second attempt, in each of the subject, after PYQ analysis, I have made different priority areas in different subjects. And additionally, for example, if you take polity, Parliament is that important chapter. President and governor, comparison, and center-state relations, fundamental rights, directive principles, okay, fundamental duties. So these are that bulky things that I'll cover first. Whenever I start to read polity, I'll cover these topics first. Once these are done, I'll go to remaining other topics. So what mistake we commit is that we start right from the first chapter, and until we reach the important chapters, we'll already lose the interest in revising that, because revision is not very interesting. Like even if you are somebody who is giving third or more than 2 attempts at UPSC, revision is that worst thing that we all go through, because we do not feel interesting at all. We know all the things already. Revision will become boring. So for that, you need to first identify priority topics. Once you are clear with priority topics in each of the subjects, the 4 building blocks that I have said, cover those important topics day by day. Take a schedule. For example, I have dedicated 5 months of preparation for prelims because I was lacking at prelims. But if you are someone who is fairly doing well at prelims, you might not put that much of time. But if you are having problem, do not mind about anybody else's schedule. Just give yourself your personal schedule. Give a 5-month strict schedule wherein you can revise the whole static part 3 or 4 times. So give it a cyclic nature. So in the first phase, cover the static in different subjects, and then in the second phase, third phase, fourth phase. And when you are just before the prelims, almost say 2 weeks or 1 week before the prelims, you'll just read that short notes, or you'll refer to maps or something that you are already good enough. Because during those times, it is much about the mind, not about your knowledge or content, but about your mindset. Prelims is not very tough. It's not very easy either. It is somewhere in the middle. So you need to realize that you need to give decent amount of preparation. And once you are done, have belief in yourself. When you are calm and believing in yourself, you will perform much better. That is the important thing that I observed. In the first attempt, I was having confidence, but I was never really 100% believing in myself. But in this attempt, I made myself the main figure in the exam. So it is my thing that I have to perform well. It doesn't matter how much else any other one is preparing or not. So just give yourself that main confidence, that energy, and you will easily clear prelims after doing this kind of analysis. So maybe you have to dedicate a lot of time, and also first analyze where you are going wrong. Which subjects are your weak areas? For example, somebody has that memory that they are very thorough with polity, but somebody might be so struggling in polity. Each one of us have different areas of strengths and weakness. Identify them and work on them. That is truly rewarding than following what everybody else is doing. So do that, and you will clear prelims.
What's your approach in solving statement-based questions?
So until 2022, we were all approaching in elimination basis, right? So after 2022, that luxury is gone. We are now left with only statement-based questions in majority of these 100 questions. So for these, you need to be very thorough with PYQ analysis. I didn't do very path-breaking for these questions. Just how I analyzed different teams and worked on priority areas. I just went ahead with different options given, the 4 options, and the intelligent risk that we take in exams, that only worked. There is nothing so special about these. But even your static part is so solid, you can easily do these statement-based questions also. But if it is in current affairs or some random GK question, you can just skip that question. It's not worth taking the risk. So do that. If it is a static question, you have to take the risk. You have to eliminate the options and you have to pick that. For that only you need test series, like test series or PYQs, only for the sake of testing your static solid foundation. Okay. Current affairs, no matter how much you cover, there is always a new question in the paper. So just do the decent current affairs, but put a lot of emphasis on static. When you revise it in 3-4 cycles, you will be very clear with the foundation concepts in different subjects, and it is how you can approach the statement questions also.
Madam, how to analyze for the map planting questions will know how to analyze for the first what we have to learn, next geography or history, something historical places will be there, no? How to prepare that one?
So there is one opinion in all of us that maps are only for geography. It's not that. In environment also we have maps, in history also we have maps, in modern India also we have some maps. So map pointing is something that will give you extra reward in exam. So give that time. Firstly, when you're starting with maps, start with geography because it is comforting. First, we have different rivers, mountains. Just go through different videos online. In YouTube, you have a lot of educational videos on map pointing, and you can use mnemonics or tricks to remember each of them. And after you are done, just try diagrams with your free hand, because in mains also you are going to draw the diagrams in geography. So try practicing them with your free hand, and whenever you are a lot of vexed with this revision and all stuff, you can just try map pointing freehand. So do that for geography. And in Indian geography, there are the lessons, for example, the natural vegetation lesson, soil types. So there are different types, right? Dry deciduous and warm deciduous and all of that. You just make a map and just label different areas. And once you label the dry deciduous or thorny, write the characteristic features of that forest. So in one single map, your entire lesson is covered. You need not refer to the NCERT book again. Just make one map after reading twice or thrice, label them and write key features of different forests there, different tree species that we get there, different flora and fauna, and what's the temperature ideally, what's the precipitation. All of this you can label it then and there in one single map and paste it onto your wall or in your book, and so that you can refer it time and again. Because in geography, these kind of questions are being asked in these times. For example, there are a list of different tree species, and they are asking which kind of vegetation these belong to, like which kind of forest areas these trees we actually observe in lot of numbers. So once you are done with this particular chapter, the soils and natural vegetation, you can deal these questions easily. And do this for geography. Similar is the thing with climate types. We have different climate types covered in GC Leong textbook. Take one map and label them. So in this way, you can cover climatic types and all of the geographical features with respect to geography maps. And when it comes to other maps, like we see when there is some country in news, we'll get that question in prelims. What are the bordering countries? What are the different water bodies? And all of this. There are a lot of mnemonic techniques for these. You can try out on them. But be sure about important places in the world map also. For example, the South America. I used to do one thing. When I was in prelims preparation mode, I used to dedicate 15 minutes time each day for map. It is actually relieving because you are not reading here. You're just observing and pointing them out on your map. So I used to give one continent 2-3 days. So first I'll cover the political map of the continent. Secondly, I'll cover the physical features of the map. Where are the plateaus, where are the plains, and water bodies surrounding the continent and different countries. And is there any bay, isthmus, peninsula, especially the islands which are disputed in nature. So all of this I used to cover about that continent in 2-3 days. I used to revise them time and again when I get the free time. So in this way, I covered different continents. It is actually interesting. You can try out on this because prelims, I said 5 full months of time is there. You can just give a leisure time to this map, and once you are done with practicing this, you are fairly in a position to answer them right. So this is how geography maps should be done. And when it comes to history especially, you have to identify the themes first. As I said, the PYQ themes. Port cities is an important theme, and in port cities also, which empires port cities are important? Like, is it the Gupta era or post-Gupta time, Shatavahana, or which time period is important for these map or these port cities? After you analyze them, just go ahead and write them down. Also, if there is any new name given to that old city, just Google it, and if you know the name, write it then and there itself. And there was some question back in 23, I guess, what is Dharani Kota? There is one site called Dharani Kota, and the answer was the Shatavahana Empire, I guess. So this was covered in one new NCERT textbook. The exact thing is given there, the map. So this is the importance of covering maps for different subjects.
Daily routine, how you prepare your day to schedules?
Okay. So are you preparing for the first time, or is it you are giving an attempts in continuation?
This year I gave.
Okay, this year you gave your first one. Okay. So one thing is that when I started the preparation, I was sure about the schedule. whatever that you are going to do tomorrow, it should be fixed before night. Many times we start ahead with the day and we are in confusion what to do itself. In that confusion itself, your half day is gone. So do that planning before night. Whatever is it less or more, do the planning before night. And I used to give different slots. One slot is for revision of the before day, and if it is not very interesting, you can try out map or some different thing. And apart from that, give some solid slots like 2.5 hour slot. In that I'll cover the GS main subject. So be it polity or economy, if I'm studying for mains, I'll give a dedicated 3-hour slot for polity. In that slot, I'll analyze the PYQs for mains first, then I'll identify the theme areas, and I'll schedule different days for different theme areas. So if I'm going to give some 6 days for polity, completion of polity for mains, I'll first take a day before and schedule all these things, like what are the priority areas in different subjects. Then I'll give it a schedule, like in these 6 days, on each day, these concepts are going to be covered. So if you are left with this, sometimes we do not hit the schedule as much. There are some off days anyways, but try to complete as much as possible. So when you fix these themes and schedule, just when your day is out there, you just go through the PYQ, select the theme and try to explore different information or different Supreme Court judgments, value addition, whatever it is. Just give it that solid 3 hours for GS subject. If you want to have a break, you will have a break of little 5 minutes or something, but give a solid slot. Do not go here and there between the slots because it will kill your focus. Only when you are exhausted, just give a break of 5 to 10 minutes and then sit back. So one GS slot is done, and then I'll take a break, lunch break maybe, and I'll take a nap also, because you see, when the afternoon hits, our productivity also hits low. Gradually, we are not very interesting in the afternoon. So I just used to have a 30 minutes or 15 minutes nap, and then from 2 to 5 p.m. I used to have a second slot. In this I used to cover optional or something very bulky or international relations or internal security, because these subjects are interesting in nature. If it is not interesting, you will feel sleepy anyways. There is no use of studying in afternoon. So give some interesting subject in the afternoon times, and then the evening break, and post that I used to have an evening slot of 5 to 7:30 or something. So in that I used to cover essay or some GS subject, because GS is ever ending for mains. I used to again have a GS slot, and post lunch break I used to have a slot for current affairs. I used to make short notes for current affairs, and in between when I was practicing, I used to have a slot for answer writing also. Like I used to skip any of these subjects and place answer writing over there. This was my ideal schedule, and I used to sleep at 10:30 p.m. So by that time, by 10 p.m., I used to make schedule for the next day. So this was how my routine used to be. I did not observe any Sundays, birthdays, festivals, everything, because I felt that I was at home all the time. Every day is Sunday for me, every day is working day for me. Only when I felt exhausting, I took break of 2-3 days in between. So unless there is exhaustion, I did not give myself a lot of breaks, because you see, when you give a lot of breaks, your focus is not as much as before. You will feel lethargic and you will not hit the targets. So just go ahead with this mindset, because this is some serious business. You need to have breaks, yes, they are essential for rejuvenation, but yes, naps when taken in long nature, it will also kill your focus. Just be cautious about this, and this used to be my ideal schedule all through the year.
Ma'am, regarding polity, everyone struggle to remember articles, ma'am. What do you suggest in that, and what trick worked for you to remember all the articles?
Okay, I think there is no shortcut for polity here, because we need to remember a lot of articles. Initially, yes, it was frustrating because we are not from the humanities side. But I used to make one thing, like I used to take an A4 sheet and I used to write all the important constitution articles. And in the, not the entire sentence of the article, but the shortcut of it. So I used to cover almost article 1 to almost 300 plus. So in this way, only important articles I used to write in one A4 sheet, used to highlight it, and then in this way, actually I pasted it to my wall. So I used to refer to it every day. And when we are solving PYQs and test side by side, we'll be in a position to remember all of them. So in this way, I memorized the important constitution articles. I prepared this list for prelims initially, and this helped me a lot during mains, because in mains, one important thing is that in polity GS2 questions, when you are starting with introduction, you need not write something very path-breaking. You can simply start with constitution article. This article defines this. That is itself enough. So I got good marks in GS2, mainly because I used constitution articles as value addition, and I used a lot of Supreme Court judgments. I used to have 2 A4 sheets full of Supreme Court judgments. So I used to quote them a lot, the constitution articles and Supreme Court judgments. So these became my value addition and fodder for GS2 mains, especially the polity section. In this way, you can also cover the polity section.
Ma'am, any specific answer writing tips for optional and also GS papers?
See, answer writing is the similar thing, but there is some difference in approaching GS and optional. So for GS, I followed the 4-step process. First, I used to refer to the syllabus topics given, and for each of the topics, after understanding the priority areas, always I used to read the priority topics first, make the notes for priority topics first. Because you see, when we start from the first thing, we'll waste a lot of time. So directly jump to those priority areas, and I started making decent amount of notes in pointer format, only something that is understood by me. It's not in very detail. So I used to refer some topper notes also for this matter. Just the basic information. What are the positives, negatives of this concept? What is the ideal introduction that I can quote? What is the ideal conclusion that I can quote? So all of these I have written in A4 sheets. And once the decent amount of content is done, I used to brainstorm the PYQs. So there was no writing at all. Just take a PYQ, give yourself 3 minutes of time, and just think of what are the different subparts in the question. This is called structuring. In which manner that you are going to structure the question. So there are critically evaluate, illustrate, elaborate, different directive words given in mains questions. So you will divide those questions into different subparts. So if there is a 10 marker, you can ideally write 2.5 subparts. If there is a 15 marker, you can write 3.5 subparts. So this extra half subpart is a value addition that you are going to make. This will give you an edge. So this second step is structuring. This will become a practice in loop. You have to place PYQs in front of you, give yourself 3-4 minutes of time, and just analyze in mind whatever are the structures, whatever are the subparts that you are going to write. So the third one is the speed. Because we all fail because we are not in a position to complete those 20 questions. It is very challenging, but it is very rewarding because you have to complete all of the 20 questions. There is no luxury in leaving any question. So just you have to complete all 20. For that, I used to make a timer. I used to have a stopwatch for mains. For 7 minutes, the 10 marker, and for 15 marker, the 10 minutes. So in this way, I covered the speed gradually. Initially, I took 15 minutes for 10 marker. Each 10 marker, I took 15 minutes. But gradually, after practice, I was able to finish the paper within 3 hours. And this is speed is the third point, and fourth point is the value addition. This fourth point will make your name be in the list. So the value addition, how much ever that you will do, that will give you a good score in mains. And for value addition, I broadly tell you different concepts. First is for polity, as I said, articles and judgments. These are the value additions, and different reports of institutions like the IMF report, press inequality report or something like that. Different data from government and some private bodies. You can use PRS website for that, and you can have data. And for economy, you will have to have the stats from the budget, economic survey, and different reports from the government websites. And other than that, for history, I did one important thing. I quoted different historians in my introductions. For example, if there is a question related to Chola era architecture or something in GS1, I used to write a historian who quoted about Cholan architecture. So I used to prepare a list for this introduction and conclusion in history also. So, and that is why I also scored decently well in GS1. Because the kind of value addition that you will make, it will make the examiner happy. Only when the examiner is happy, you will get a lot of marks. Because you understand the pain of examiner to go through lot of papers. What is so special in your paper that he feels happy and gives the marks? So that is your responsibility. The kind of valuation that you will make, that will fetch you a lot of marks. And these are the broad pointers for mains preparation.
So there is a belief that whatever the amendments that are in news, those will be in prelims. If we look this year, we thought so many people thought work for amendment will be in the question paper, but it didn't happen. So what do you say, ma'am? It will work for prelims or it will work for mains?
So amendments are that miscellaneous topics in polity. You have to have a list of amendments. You need to cover them, revise them a lot. And regarding to the Waqf bill or the act, even we were expecting that to be done in mains also. Even in mains also, we didn't find the question. We were expecting that in interview also. In interview also, they didn't ask us these questions. So one thing is that there is no concrete yes or no to different current affair topics. It is your responsibility to prepare. Whether it will appear in your exam or not, it is not in our hands. But just go ahead with decent amount of information, not too much, not too less. Just if you take some act or bill going on in the news, read about the context. Why is this act or bill being placed? What are the stakes here? What are the different fundamental rights at stake? And then you have to read the fundamental rights, right to religion. That becomes important here. And then you have to read about secularism. So you see, not just the news, but different background analysis is needed. So when you take some news piece, try to figure out what are the different sub areas of this topic. As I said, from Waqf, we can derive the freedom of religion. So Article 25 say you have to read. And after that, you have to go through Supreme Court judgments related to secularism or something. We have to read the concept of secularism. What is positive secularism? What is negative secularism? What is the Indian model and Western model? So all of this, you have to make a mind map. Whenever you read a news, that is the difference. It is not about mugging up facts and writing it in the exam. It is about the analysis that you will do. That will fetch you the reward. So this is how you have to deal the current affair topics.
Ma'am, how to face an unknown question in mains or optional, ma'am? GS or optional?
So this is a good question because no matter how much ever we prepare, we will always face some bouncers in mains. For example, in GS1 also there are questions like twisters in this year. Like in 2024 mains, there was a question called about twisters. So even everybody do not know, like anyone don't know this question. Even I didn't know, but I finished the paper. So it was a 10 marker, I believe. So actually you have to identify something. Like if the question is from geography, there is definitely something going to be about geomorphological phenomena. So you will write about twister. Like a twister is that geomorphological phenomena. It can influence the lives and it can impact the vegetation and all of it. So if you see, this is not wrong. I do not know about twister, but if it's a geography question, all of these factors are going to be in play, right? It is not wrong, it is not right. It is somewhere in the gray. So that is how you will write some different pointers. You can just drag it on, but do not fill the pages too much because you are not aware of the topic, right? Just play safe in such questions. Write the decent amount of data, general points. Just cover up the papers. Not too much, but just the decent amount. The advantage here is that many of those will leave the question. But you are writing the basic decent points. Even if you get 2-3 marks in that question, you are fair ahead of the competition. So that is the importance of writing bouncer questions. Many people will leave them. So just keep it at the end. If you are not very comfortable initially, try writing the questions that you are comfortable first. And in the end, attempt these kind of questions.
Firstly, congratulations on your huge success, ma'am. Ma'am, actually my question is, IGNOU materials చదవాలంటారు కదా మ్యామ్ ఆంథ్రోపాలజీకి, అవి మీరు కవర్ చేశారా? అండ్ దెన్ ఏదైనా టాపర్ కాపీస్ మీరు రిఫర్ చేశారా ఇన్ నోట్ మేకింగ్? అండ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ పేపర్స్ మీద మనకి అంత ఫోకస్ ఉండదు, అది ఎలా చేయాలి?
So first you asked about IGNOU material. I did not refer IGNOU material, but yes, few topics where the notes is not as much available online, I refer to IGNOU. Only those very 2-3 topics, I guess, which are available online. So it is not important to cover something from end to end. Even for anthropology, if I can say, there are lot many books that we'll cover. It is not important to cover from end to end. Just just take the index and compare it with your syllabus paper of optional. Whatever are the topics, round them off, just complete those topics from that book. Once that is done, go to the next book, do the similar thing. It is not rewarding to complete each book from end to end. So this is how IGNOU material should also be referred. If you are not having something very like a decent amount of data or notes for some topic, you can refer to that. If you have some decent notes, you need not go through that also. That is one thing. And whatever you asked next.
Proper copies.
Okay. So my optional was anthropology, and I referred 2-3 toppers copies. One is Lakshmi Nagappan ma'am. So she scored 320 plus in anthro. I referred to her copies, and then Sri Harsha sir copies, and then Nidhi Pai ma'am copies. So I referred to these 3 topper copies, and I did not take any test series for optional. I just practiced 2 PYQs. Like I took the 2020 paper both in the morning and afternoon, and then I completed them. So this is how I did my optional test, because I practiced a lot for GS. So by that time I was not having enough time to practice for optional. So that due to that time constraint, I did not take any test series for optional. But if you are having some lacuna in your optional answer writing, you can definitely go for a test. One important thing is that do not idealize anybody for taking some test or some course. It is about your needs. If you want to have some deliverables in a course, look out for them, take it. Do not think that if somebody is taking, I should also enroll. It is not like that. If you are having a genuine need, just go for a course. If you are not very comfortable with it, and you need not go for a course, then okay, this is the approach.
Language papers.
Okay, language paper, there is no much of tension that we need to take. Even I used to have this dilemma that because nobody is teaching us how to approach language papers. We are all having fair idea about GS, optional, everything. And I'll tell you, it is very easy. You can just refer one PYQ like from 24 and just try to read the questions. It is very easy. Many people sleep during the language papers also. They'll complete and they'll sleep. So that is how language papers go. We also prepare optional on these language paper days. They are so basic, you will just easily write it off and you can easily qualify that. Use that additional time for optional preparation, because the next day you will having optional papers and you will be sorted out for these this language papers.
Good morning, ma'am. First, hearty congratulations. మ్యామ్ మనతో మనం ఎలా స్టబోన్గా చాలా స్ట్రిక్ట్గా ఉండాలి మ్యామ్. దెన్ ఇంకొకటి అటెన్షన్ స్పాన్ ఎలా పెంచుకోవాలి మ్యామ్, అదర్ దెన్ మెడిటేషన్ చెప్పండి మ్యామ్.
సో ఓకే, అటెన్షన్ స్పాన్ I'll deal this first. Are you interested in short videos or reels? Avoid them first. Because you see, earlier we used to refer to some long lectures also, 1.5 hour. Now our attention span is limited to 15 seconds. And I see even in those 15 seconds, we are dragging that. So that kind of digital age that we are living in, so that is so dangerous for attention. Just try stopping them, at least for your serious preparation days. If you are comfortable after your mains or something, you can go through them. Because you see, this is something that we ignore. We refer to them daily, the short videos and all of this stuff, that kills our attention span. So you start reading lengthy things. You start reading topper copies or something very lengthy. Initially do that and you'll get that attention back. And you asked something, okay, being stubborn with the self. See, discipline is very important. If you're not having the discipline, this exam is not for us. So that is as simple as it is. Because you see, there is a lot of things to cover. There is prelims, mains, interview. Even a person, like even if you take about my scenario, even till the day of the interview, I was not sure about many things. Despite putting in a lot of efforts for 4 months for interview, I was clueless the before night. So that kind of uncertainty, complexity exists in this exam. For that, you need to be stubborn with yourself. You can do that by scheduling first. So if you are not that person who is very good with schedules, give yourself a flexible one first. So just have 3-4 tasks to do in a single day. Carry on that for a week and then increase the number of tasks. In this way, you will analyze that you are actually good at doing things, but you seriously lack the discipline. And after doing these simple things for a lengthy period, you will inculcate that discipline, and gradually you will become that stubborn lady with yourself, and you will able to write the exam well. Fine. So firstly, you scored 1,111, like 111 in ethics, is it? You scored 111, right? Okay, that's fairly a good score, but you have that potential to reach 130 plus. So there are a few things that you should keep in mind. You can just sit down. Okay, so firstly, I will tell you about my approach. So there are section A and section B. Which part of the exam that you were writing first? Is it the case studies or the theory? Section A first. Okay.
5 questions for the first 35 minutes, then case study.
Okay, so that is good approach, because you see many aspirants tend to do it the other way around. They'll write the case studies first, and when there is this peak time left, they'll start with this for question number 1, and you see examiner will correct your paper from page 1. So when you are writing the first question at the end, imagine the kind of handwriting, the kind of the content that you are writing at the end. So that is seriously compromising your image in the examiner's mind. So don't make that mistake. Give yourself good time to write the theory questions first. So for theory questions, yes, that BNS question was a bouncer the last year. I did not know what exactly I have written that day. But yes, you need to add a lot of philosophical touch to these ethics answers. And I used to have this moral thinkers and philosophers list, and I used to quote them time and again in every other question. Like you said, one question is about what was justice yesterday, what is not today. So think it of like this. If I tell about the practice of sati, it was back then a prominent practice. So that was actually designed in such a way that when a young girl becomes a widow and there is this society which is so not very safe for her, people believed that if she is no more there, there is no threat to her security. So that was their mindset, and it was justice in those days. But after Sir Rajaram Mohan Roy came in, so we had the different dimension of justice. If you are not able to create a safe society for her, you are compromising her dignity of life. It is not justice. So this is what the new dimension of justice came in. You have to analyze such examples from history or some current events. And for example, you can take similar thing, homosexuality. It was back then considered a sin. It's not justice. But now, today we progressed. We are thinking it on liberal lines. So these are certain kind of examples you have to quote. Examples, I had literally 2-3 pages full of examples for ethics. So I used to have this current affair important events. All of these I used to make different tabular forms, and I used to fill examples. I used to revise them time and again. As and when chance like this appears in exam, you have to hit your examples. So in these questions, you will get those extra marks. And you asked about case studies next. So for case studies, the different approach that I did was, I used to make templates for different kind of case studies. So for example, there is something about emotional intelligence, whatever are the introductions, conclusions, points that I'm going to write. There is a prefixed template for me beforehand. So whatever is the case study given in the exam, I'll just dump the facts into them. And if you are writing about disaster management, for example, you have to quote the NDMA guidelines. It is sure, because how much ever technical details that you fill in, that will reflect your capacity as a civil servant. So this paper gives you that luxury of writing many things. And apart from these guidelines and statutory things, you can also write moral thinkers and philosophers. For example, if there is something about justice, you can quote the 4 virtues of Plato. Then Wheel of Ignorance, John Rawls, Justice. And there are a lot of thinkers you can easily quote. And if there is something that is compromising your integrity, you can write the leadership skills. Like you can write, being in a responsible position, compromising my integrity will not be a backlash for myself, but it will also destroy the work culture of the organization. So here you are not thinking about your own self, but how this institution is functioning as a whole. You are thinking about it also. This reflects your broad mindset. So this is how you need to make minor changes in your approach, and you can surely get a 130 plus in this paper.
And how many points per question in section A?
Section A. So first, dimensions, like different sub parts of question. Under each sub part I used to write 3 or 4 points, and under each of the point there is an example for sure. In ethics you have to write a lot many examples, keywords, prepare example list, keyword list, diagrams specifically, because ethics is a lengthy paper. Imagine the pain of the examiner also. Sometimes we are writing a lot, they have to read 50 plus pages for each paper. If there is something in diagram, it will show a lot of information in an easy manner. So do that for ethics.
నాకు డౌట్ మేడం ఏంటంటే, క్లాస్ మనం కోచింగ్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు వాళ్ళు నోట్స్ చెప్తారు కదా మేడం. ఎగ్జాంపుల్ జాగ్రఫీ వచ్చి 1 monthలో కంప్లీట్ చేసేసారు అనుకోండి మేడం, కానీ నేను టెక్స్ట్ బుక్స్ చదువుతాను మేడం, జీసీ లియోంగ్ అండ్ దాంతోపాటు ఎన్సీఆర్టీస్ కూడా చదువుతాను మేడం. ఎందుకంటే నాకు వీళ్ళు చెప్పేటప్పుడు ఇమాజినేషన్ సరిగ్గా రావడం లేదు మేడం. కొంచెం క్లియర్ పిక్చర్ కోసం నేను ఎన్సీఆర్టీస్ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్స్ కూడా చదువుతాను మేడం. ఇలా చదవడం వల్ల వాళ్ళు 1 monthలో చెప్పింది నాకు కంప్లీట్ చేయడం కోసం 2 months, 2.5 months or 3 months కూడా పడుతుంది మేడం. అంటే ఇలా చేయడం కరెక్టేనా మేడం? ఎందుకంటే నాకు టైం, ఎందుకంటే వీళ్ళు ఎవ్రీ వీక్ ఎగ్జామ్ పెడతారు మేడం. ఎగ్జామ్ పెట్టినప్పుడు వాళ్ళు జియోమార్ఫాలజీ మొత్తం 1 weekలో చెప్పేసి నేను ఆ 1 weekలోనే దాన్ని కంప్లీట్ చేయలేకపోతున్నాను మేడం. ఇంకొక 1 or 2 weeks నాకు ఎక్స్ట్రా పడుతుంది మేడం. సో అప్పుడు ఎగ్జామ్ రాసేటప్పుడు నాకు కొంచెం తక్కువ మార్కులు వస్తాయి మేడం. సో నేను ఎగ్జామ్ రాయడమే మానేశాను మేడం. ఎందుకంటే అనవసరంగా నేను నెగిటివ్ ఇంప్రెషన్లోకి వెళ్ళిపోతాను. మనం ఫస్ట్ సిలబస్ కంప్లీట్ చేద్దాం అన్న ఒక మైండ్ సెట్తో కొంచెం అలా ఉన్నాను మేడం. నేను ఈ సిచ్యువేషన్లో టెక్స్ట్ బుక్స్ చదవడం అవసరం లేదా? జస్ట్ మనం నోట్స్ మాత్రం చదివేసి మెయిన్స్లో అప్లై కావచ్చా అనేసి నా డౌట్స్ మేడం. జస్ట్ 4 months బ్యాకే నేను కోచింగ్లో జాయిన్ అయ్యాను మేడం.
ఓకే, అంటే ప్రిలిమ్స్ రాసారా ఇయర్?
లేదు మేడం.
ఓకే, యు ఆర్ రైటింగ్ 26.
యా మేడం.
ఓకే, సో నీకు చాలా టైం ఉంది యాక్చువల్లీ. ఫస్ట్లీ దెర్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ రాంగ్ ఇన్ కవరింగ్ బేసిక్స్. ఓకే, యూ కెన్ రీడ్ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్స్ అ లాట్ బికాస్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎ టైమ్. ఓకే, ఏంటంటే వీ రిలై లాట్ ఆన్ ఈజీలీ అవైలబుల్ మెటీరియల్. ఏదైనా ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ మెటీరియల్ ఆర్ రెడీలీ ఉంటే ఇది చదివితే అయిపోద్ది అనుకుంటాము. దట్ ఈస్ నాట్ రియలీ గుడ్ అప్రోచ్. ఫస్ట్ మన ఫౌండేషన్ స్ట్రాంగ్ ఉండాలి. యూ సీ స్టేట్మెంట్ టైప్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఎట్లా సాల్వ్ చేస్తాము స్టాటిక్ స్ట్రాంగ్ లేకపోతే? సో ఫస్ట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు కంప్లీట్ యువర్ బేసిక్స్. డజంట్ మ్యాటర్, జాగ్రఫీకి టైం పడుతుంది బట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ వర్త్ రివార్డింగ్. నువ్వు ఎక్కువ టైం పెట్టి కాన్సెప్ట్ స్ట్రాంగ్ చేసుకుంటే you don't need foundation, like you can write exam year and year. నీకు ఫౌండేషన్ స్ట్రాంగ్ ఉంటే క్వశ్చన్స్ ఈజీలీ అటెంప్ట్ చేయొచ్చు, ప్రిలిమ్స్ క్వాలిఫై అవ్వచ్చు. అండ్ టెస్ట్ మాత్రము యూ కెన్ కీప్ ఆన్ రైటింగ్ బికాజ్ అంతా అయిపోయాక రాస్తాము అనుకుంటాము, బట్ దెర్ ఈస్ నో సింగిల్ ఇన్స్టెన్స్ ఇన్ దిస్ ఎగ్జామ్ ప్రాసెస్ వేర్ యూ ఫీల్ యాజ్ పర్ఫెక్ట్. For mains, for interview, whichever phase it is, you are never perfect, and perfection doesn't exist in life also. ఏదో ఒక ఫ్లా ఉంటూనే ఉంటుంది ఎప్పుడు. బట్ ఇదంతా అయిపోయాక చేస్తా అనుకుంటే యూ విల్ మిస్ అ లాట్ ఆఫ్ టైం. సో ఇనీషియలీ టెస్ట్ ఇవ్వాలి అండ్ దాన్ని పాజిటివ్గా తీసుకోవాలి. ఈవెన్ ప్రిలిమ్స్ అప్పుడు టెస్ట్ ఇచ్చినప్పుడు కూడా యూ హ్యావ్ టు టేక్ ఇట్ ఇన్ అ పాజిటివ్ మేనర్. మార్క్స్ తక్కువ వచ్చాయని యూ షుడ్ నాట్ ఫీల్ లో. యూ షుడ్ ఫీల్ లో వెన్ యూ ఆర్ ticking one simple question wrong. You should feel low then. Okay, so that should be the approach. Okay. So standard books, I referred PNAD for physical anthro, so tribal anthro Nadeem Hasnain, and all of the static books. But one important thing was that I covered Ember and Ember. So first prelims అయిపోయాక I had a lot of time, prelims failure tarvata, so I completed this Ember and Ember. ఓన్లీ స్పెసిఫిక్గా మనకి చాప్టర్ సిలబస్లో ఏవి ఉన్నాయో ఆ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ అవి కవర్ చేశాను. సో దెన్ ఐ అండర్స్టూడ్ దట్ వీఆర్ సమ్వేర్ మిస్సింగ్ ద ఎసెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ద సబ్జెక్ట్. సో కోర్స్ తీసుకున్నామా, సెల్ఫ్గా ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యామా, బట్ వీఆర్ రీడింగ్ ఇట్ మెకానికలీ. బట్ ఎవ్రీ సబ్జెక్ట్కి ఒక ఎసెన్స్ ఉంటుంది. సో దాట్ యూ విల్ గెట్ త్రూ స్టాండర్డ్ బుక్స్. స్టాండర్డ్ బుక్స్ ఖచ్చితంగా యూ హ్యావ్ టు రీడ్. ఒక అనాలిసిస్ అర్థం అవుతుంది. అండ్ ఆల్సో మనకి ఎంబర్లో సో మెనీ ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఉన్నాయి. డిఫరెంట్ ఆర్కియాలజిస్ట్ వర్క్ కూడా ఇచ్చారు మనకి బాక్సెస్లో. అవన్నీ షీట్స్లో చేసుకొని వీ కెన్ మేక్ వాల్యూ ఎడిషన్ ఇన్ ఆన్సర్స్. సో అలా ఆంథ్రో చేశాను. అండ్ ఆల్సో దెర్ ఈస్ అ లాట్ టు రీడ్ ఇన్ ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ అండ్ మనకి అన్నీ కూడా గుర్తుండవు లాట్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్స్. సో నేనేం చేశానంటే ఐ యూస్ టు మేక్ షార్ట్ నోట్స్, డయాగ్రామ్స్కి ఒక సపరేట్ లిస్ట్. సో ఆర్కియాలజీ అండ్ దెన్ అదర్ సోషియో కల్చరల్ ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ అన్ని సబ్జెక్ట్స్లో, అన్ని సబ్ పార్ట్స్లో ఐ యూస్ టు హ్యావ్ డిఫరెంట్ డయాగ్రామ్స్ లిస్ట్. సో ఈ డయాగ్రామ్ లిస్ట్ ఐ యూస్ టు ప్రాక్టీస్. అండ్ ఆల్సో షార్ట్ నోట్స్. నేను ఫస్ట్లీ ఐ మేడ్ బల్కీ నోట్స్ ఆఫ్ 4-5 బుక్స్. సో తర్వాత మెయిన్స్ ప్రిపరేషన్ ఫేజ్లో రివిజన్ చేసి యాక్టివ్ రికాల్ చేసి నాకు గుర్తున్న తర్వాత నేను గుర్తున్నవి షార్ట్ నోట్స్ చేసుకున్నా. ఇట్లా నేను ఆల్ ఆఫ్ ద చాప్టర్స్ స్ట్రక్చర్స్ కూడా చేసుకున్నా. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనకి సెకండ్ పేపర్లో కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ సేఫ్ గార్డ్స్ ఫర్ బ్యాక్వర్డ్ క్లాసెస్ ఉంది. సో దానికి ఫస్ట్ ఇంట్రో ఇలా రాస్తాను, దెన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ సేఫ్ గార్డ్స్ పొలిటికల్, ఎకనామికల్, సోషల్, ఇట్లా డిఫరెంట్ సపార్ట్స్ చేసుకొని దెన్ లాస్ట్లో మన కమిటీ రికమెండేషన్స్, దెన్ కంక్లూజన్. సో ఇట్లా స్ట్రక్చర్ అన్నది ప్రీఫిక్స్డ్గా పెట్టుకునేదాన్ని. యాక్చువల్లీ ఆ స్ట్రక్చర్తోనే నేను ఎగ్జామ్లో రాసేదాన్ని. అండ్ ఈ షార్ట్ నోట్స్ కూడా మనకి మెయిన్స్ రాసేటప్పుడు విల్ గెట్ 5 days గ్యాప్ ఇన్ బిట్వీన్ జిఎస్ పేపర్స్ అండ్ ఆప్షనల్. సో ఈ 5 days గ్యాప్లో విల్ నాట్ హ్యావ్ మచ్ టైమ్ టు రివైజ్. షార్ట్ నోట్స్ అప్పుడు హెల్ప్ అవుతుంది. సో ఇట్లా ఆప్షనల్ని బ్రేక్ డౌన్ చేసుకోవాలి డిఫరెంట్ పార్ట్స్. ఓకే, సో ఇనీషియలీ ఒకవేళ మీరు స్టార్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు ఇప్పుడే ఆన్సర్ రైటింగ్ అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ బెటర్ టు టేక్ ఆన్ అ డైలీ బేసిస్. బట్ ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ సంబడీ యూ ఈస్ కంఫర్టబుల్ విత్ ఆన్సర్ రైటింగ్, యూ కెన్ టేక్ వీక్లీ టెస్ట్ because that will be time saving and enriching for you. So take it every day, but take it like 15 or 20 minutes for one simple topic and do active recall and whatever value addition and all of that. Schedule your this time frame like 70 or 80 odd days, leaving aside the 1 week before mains. Schedule the remaining days. Make sure that every GS paper is covered and you have the time for revision also. So in that way, divide your days and then you can cover revision very frequently, like once in 3-4 days, not after a week, because you will have barely 5-6 weeks in this entire thing. So you can have revision for every 3 days and give very less time for revision initially. But as and when you are finishing the subjects, give lot of time for revision and less time for value addition. So this is how you can proceed. So I'll answer from the last question. So you asked about the motto. So I'll always used to have this motto of public service in my mind. And you see, when this motivation, though it might be a noble one, it will not help you year long. Some days we feel very high, some days we feel very low. And discipline and consistent routine is something that will sail you along in this journey, because motivation is not something very revolutionary. Yes, it is important to start, but playing it consistently requires a lot of discipline. So I used to have that discipline in mind because my stakes were high, because I didn't take up a career after graduation. I jumped into preparation right away. So there is some kind of pressure internally, though there was no pressure from family or something, but there was pressure internally because stakes are high. If you do not go like clear this exam, what is your way ahead in life? That is something that was always in my hand. And in hindsight, I also feel that pressure is important. Like if you have no pressure inside you, you will feel chill and you will just go through it. You will say that I'll just face one attempt and I'll know, then I'll fall down, I'll give second, third. This is not like that. Just give serious attempt. Be very serious with your preparation, because there should not be any other important thing that will kill your time at this moment. Give lot of time to your prep and also give time with yourself. Have that hobby or leisure time and explore some different interests, but make sure that it will not divert your time from exam. And for prelims and mains especially, as I said, analysis played a key part in my success. Whatever is the stage of exam, I used to place high emphasis on analysis. First, I used to take 3-4 days before starting with the prep. I used to analyze what are the important areas that I'm going to work upon in the next few days. And I used to make a schedule. Yes, there were some days when I was not hitting the schedule right, but on a whole, I covered 80 to 90% of my schedule. So this was something that I'll give much credit to. You should have a decent schedule that fits your needs and exam needs. And in this manner, you can approach prelims and mains.
So I hope everyone got enough input.